Welcome to Bless Your Heart, a special segment of Sunday Night Live where verses are stitched back into context with some love. I am your host, Trenton Barksdale, and I look forward to enjoying some time with you. Let's sit for a while.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. If y'all didn't hear on our latest episode or see it on our Facebook page, it's been busy lately for me. And so we had to push last week's episode to today. I wanted to take the time to thank you all for your patience, and now we are ready to resume this series. As always, if you think of a verse that is taken out of context, comment below or send us a message and we will look into it. Now, let's look at another Old Testament passage that is often taken out of context. This one is found in Jeremiah chapter 29. Let's read the passage and then put it back into context together. This one is Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." This verse is a good one to read in order to provide some encouragement, no doubt. I'm sure all of us have at some point even quoted it to others, by which we try to encourage them and uplift them. And I know for me, it's benefited me in hearing it mentioned and quoted. However, that doesn't justify removing it from its context. The prophet Jeremiah here in this chapter is writing a letter to the survivors of the Babylonian exile where they were taken captive. They had been led away by Nebuchadnezzar to Babylon, away from Jerusalem. Jeremiah here was writing to them and telling them to not resist their captivity, but rather make the best of the situation and live as they normally would, building houses, having children, everything. If we pick up reading in verse 4 about this letter, we see that it shows a contrast between what the Lord has said and what the false prophets have said. Let's read starting in verse 10 of the chapter and notice how our verse in question is actually in the middle of a thought. Jeremiah 29, starting in verse 10, going down through verse 14, says, "For thus says the Lord, when 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will visit you, and I will fulfill to you my promise and bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will hear you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and all the places where I have driven you, declares the Lord, and I will bring you back to the place from which I sent you into exile." Friends, while the verse we are talking about can be a comfort, let's be careful to not remove it out of its context. None of us are Jewish people exiled to Babylon. God didn't make a promise to us to take us back home to Jerusalem after 70 years. He had planned to bring the captives home. He wanted to give them a future and a hope. From what we read in Matthew chapter 1, it would be 14 generations between the Babylonian captivity and when the Christ would come. He would be their future and their hope. May God help all of us to look to Him today as our future and our hope. Thanks for listening.
Which verse do you think we should consider next? Comment below or send us a message on Facebook or Discord with your suggestions. Y'all come back now. Here